Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive with us? Today we're going to be talking about something that I think everyone has experienced at least once, travel mishaps.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And not just like your suitcase getting lost or your flight being delayed a little bit. I mean like really wild things that happen on trips. The kind of stuff that maybe even makes you laugh about it later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's interesting because those travel mishaps can really teach you a lot about yourself, like how you deal with things when they go wrong.
I like that perspective, yeah. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the frustration of it all when it's happening.
Right, yeah. And that's totally understandable. I mean, nobody wants to deal with travel headaches. But I think if we can approach these situations with the right mindset, we can actually learn a lot from them. We can learn about problem solving and staying calm under pressure, and even like how to be more culturally sensitive when things don't go according to plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like instead of just freaking out, we can try to see it as an opportunity to grow or something.
Exactly. And, later on, you can even turn those mishaps into stories that you can share with people. It's like turning lemons into lemonade, right?
I love that. So it's like we're not just giving people the vocabulary to talk about travel problems in English, but we're also giving them the tools to handle those situations in a positive way.
Precisely.
Mm.
Because let's face it, travel isn't always smooth sailing. But if we can equip ourselves with the right mindset and language skills, we can turn those potential disasters into valuable experiences.
Okay, I am totally on board with that. But before we get too deep into all that, can we maybe take a step back and talk about why it's even important to be able to talk about these travel mishaps in English in the first place?
Yeah, of course. I think it's crucial for a few reasons, especially if you're traveling internationally. First of all, if you can clearly communicate what's wrong, you're way more likely to get the help you need, to get your problem solved.
Right, like if you can't explain what happened to your luggage or why you missed your train, it's going to be pretty hard to get things back on track.
Exactly. And secondly, being able to discuss these things in English can help you connect with people from all over the world. Like sharing your travel mishaps can actually be a great icebreaker. It can lead to some really interesting conversations, and you might even learn some new things from other people's experiences.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a universal language of, oh my God, I've been there kind of moments.
Exactly. So I think being able to communicate effectively in English when things go wrong can really make your travels smoother and more enjoyable overall.
Great. So I think we've established why this is important. Where do we go from here? What should our listeners be thinking about?
Well, I think a good place to start is by expanding our travel vocabulary. Going beyond those basic terms like delay or lost luggage, which I'm sure most of our listeners are already familiar with.
Okay, so like deeper cuts, travel vocab, pro level stuff.
Exactly. For example, have you ever heard of the term force majeure?
Force majeure. Not ringing a bell. What is that?
It's actually a legal term that often comes up in situations where travel is disrupted due to circumstances beyond anyone's control.
Oh, okay. So like if there's a natural disaster or something.
Precisely. Things like hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, even political unrest. All of these can be considered force majeure, and understanding this concept can be super helpful if you're dealing with canceled flights or significant changes to your itinerary.
Wow, I never knew that. So force majeure officially added to my travel vocab list. What else should we be adding?
Another important term to know is indemnity. This basically refers to compensation for losses or damages you might experience during your trip.
Okay, indemnity, that sounds like it could come in handy. But when would you actually use that term?
Well, imagine your baggage gets damaged during a flight or your hotel room isn't as described and you want to request a refund. Knowing about indemnity can help you understand your rights and how to advocate for yourself in those situations.
Got it. So basically, knowing these terms is all about being prepared, understanding the bigger picture of what's going on, and what you might be entitled to.
Absolutely, because knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're traveling in unfamiliar territory and you might need to navigate some tricky situations.
All right, I'm feeling a lot more informed already. Now I'm really curious about those phrases we can use to actually handle these travel mishaps gracefully.
You bet. Let's give our listeners some real-world examples. Say you're at the airport check-in counter and they tell you your flight is overbooked. Instead of getting flustered, try saying something like, "I understand the flight is overbooked. Could you please explain my options for rebooking?"
Yeah, that sounds so much better than just saying, what? You mean I can't get on this flight?
Exactly. It's all about staying calm, being assertive but also remaining polite.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about if you're at your hotel and you discover there's a problem with your room, like the air conditioning isn't working or something?
Instead of just getting frustrated and stewing in silence, go to the front desk and politely explain the issue. You could say something like, "Excuse me, I'm having an issue with state the problem. Could you please assist me with this?"
Right. It's about clearly stating the problem without letting your emotions take over. I like it. Okay, I'm ready for another scenario. Hit me.
All right, how about this? You're at a restaurant and the menu is entirely in a language you don't understand. What do you do?
Oh, that's happened to me before. I usually end up just pointing at something random and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But I know that's probably not the best strategy.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a gamble. Instead, try saying something like, "Excuse me, could you recommend a local specialty? I'd love to try something authentic."
Ooh, I love that. It shows that you're open to new experiences and willing to engage with the local culture, even if you don't speak the language fluently.
Exactly. Sometimes a few simple phrases delivered with a smile can go a long way in building rapport and getting the help you need.
Okay, I'm getting the hang of this. But I think it would be helpful to put these phrases into practice with a real-life travel mishap. You mentioned something earlier about taking the wrong train. I think our listeners would love to hear about that.
Oh, absolutely. Buckle up. This one's a doozy. It all started when I was backpacking through Europe trying to get from, let's say, Rome to Vienna.
Oh, backpacking through Europe? Sounds amazing. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, you would think it'd be pretty straightforward, right? But somehow I managed to get on the wrong train.
Wait, what? How do you even do that? Like, didn't you check the signs or anything?
Oh, I know. I must have misread the departure board or something because I swear I got on the train that I thought was going to Vienna, but it turned out to be going in the complete opposite direction.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're on this train heading who knows where,
Yeah.
and you realize you're going the wrong way. What did you do?
Okay, so at first I was in complete panic mode. My heart was racing. I was checking my ticket over and over again, double-checking the signs, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's like the traveler's worst nightmare.
It was pretty bad. But then I took a deep breath and tried to remember everything we were just talking about, about staying calm and figuring out a solution. And luckily, the conductor spoke a little bit of English.
Oh, good. At least there was that.
Yeah, he was super helpful. He explained that I could get off at the next stop and catch a connecting train back in the right direction.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I bet that added a lot of extra time to your trip.
It definitely did. What was supposed to be like a 6-hour train ride turned into like a 10-hour ordeal. But, looking back, it's actually kind of a funny story.
Oh, I bet. I can see how that would be something you'd laugh about later.
Yeah, it's one of those travel mishaps that just makes for a good anecdote. And it definitely taught me to be extra careful when I'm tired and at a busy train station.
That is a good lesson to learn. Okay, so you had your wrong train adventure, but I'm sure you're not the only one who's had some crazy travel experiences. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to rely on the kindness of strangers to help you out of a jam? Maybe even when there was a language barrier? I mean, I guess I've been pretty lucky in that sense. I haven't had too many major mishaps while traveling. But I do remember this one time when I was in rural Japan. I was hiking and completely lost track of time.
Oh, no. That sounds a little scary.
It was getting dark. I had no idea which way to go. And my Japanese was pretty basic at that point.
Oh, I bet you were freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But then I stumbled upon this local farmer who thankfully was super kind and could tell that I was totally lost.
So what did you do? Like, how did you communicate with him?
Mostly through gestures. He didn't speak any English, but he managed to show me a shortcut back to the village. He even gave me some fruit that he'd just picked from his farm. It was such a kind gesture.
Ah, that's so sweet. It's amazing how sometimes you can connect with people even without speaking the same language.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely made me realize that even when things go wrong, there's always a chance to encounter some unexpected kindness along the way.
Absolutely. Speaking of kindness, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about travel etiquette. Even when things are going smoothly, there are still some things we can all do to make traveling more enjoyable for everyone.
Okay, yeah. Travel etiquette, that's a good one. I think we've all been in situations where someone's lack of etiquette has made things a little bit less pleasant.
Exactly. Like, have you ever been on a plane where the person next to you is basically using your armrest as their own personal space?
Ugh, yes. Or when they recline their seat all the way back and basically crush your legs.
The worst. Or how about those people who watch movies without headphones or talk on the phone super loud? It's like they're the only ones on the plane.
It's so inconsiderate. So I guess airplane etiquette is all about being aware of your surroundings and how your actions might affect the people around you.
Exactly. And the same goes for hotels. Like, be mindful of noise levels, respect quiet hours, and be considerate of shared spaces.
Yeah, those are all good reminders. And don't forget about tipping housekeeping staff. They work really hard and often don't get the recognition they deserve.
Absolutely. A small tip can go a long way in showing your appreciation.
Okay, so we've covered airplanes and hotels. What about dining etiquette? Are there any specific tips for that?
Well, it really depends on where you're traveling. Different cultures have different customs, so it's always a good idea to do a little bit of research beforehand.
Right, like in some cultures, it's considered rude to slurp your noodles, while in others, it's seen as a sign of enjoyment.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So being aware of those cultural nuances can help you avoid any faux pas.
good point. Okay, and what about photography etiquette? I feel like that's becoming more and more important these days, especially with social media and everything.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to be respectful when taking photos, especially of people. Always ask permission first, especially in sacred or culturally sensitive locations.
And be mindful of your surroundings in general. You don't want to be that person who's blocking everyone's view or accidentally photobombing someone's special moment.
Right. It's all about being aware and considerate.
Okay, so we've talked about being respectful of people. What about being respectful of the environment?
Ah, yes. Sustainable travel is super important. We can all do our part to minimize our impact on the planet while we're exploring the world.
Totally. What are some things we can do to be more eco-conscious travelers?
Well, for starters, pack light. The heavier your luggage, the more fuel the plane or train needs to use.
That makes sense. What else?
Use reusable water bottles and shopping bags. Say no to single-use plastics whenever possible, and support local businesses and tour operators who prioritize sustainability.
I love that. It's about making conscious choices that align with our values.
Exactly. It's about leaving the places we visit better than we found them. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from handling unexpected mishaps to being respectful and responsible travelers. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
We've talked a lot about the practical aspects of travel, but what about the transformative power of these experiences? How can travel, even with its mishaps, shape who we are and how we see the world?
Wow, that is a great question. I think travel has this amazing ability to broaden our perspectives and challenge our assumptions. It pushes us outside of our comfort zones and helps us grow as individuals.
Exactly. It's not just about seeing new places. It's about experiencing different cultures, meeting new people, and learning about ourselves in the process.
So to all of our listeners out there, embrace those travel mishaps, big or small. They may not be fun in the moment, but they often lead to the most unforgettable stories, the deepest connections, and the greatest personal growth.
Travel isn't just about the destination. It's about the journey and all of the messy, unexpected, and wonderful moments that come with it.
So true. Safe travels, everyone, and may your mishaps be minimal, but your stories be epic.
Safe travels.
Yeah. So there I was in the middle of nowhere, the sun going down, and I'm thinking, how did I get myself into this?
Oh, man. I bet that was a little unsettling. Did you at least have a map or like a compass or something?
I had a map, but it was one of those tourist maps, not really detailed enough for hiking in the backcountry. And of course, my phone battery had died like an hour earlier.
Ah, the classic dead phone battery scenario. Every traveler's nightmare. So what did you do?
I kept walking for a bit, hoping I'd run into another hiker or maybe find a sign or something, but no luck. It was starting to get really dark.
Yeah, I can imagine the panic starting to set in at that point.
It definitely was. And then out of the blue, I saw this older gentleman walking towards me. He was a local farmer, and even though we couldn't understand a word of each other's languages, he could totally tell I was lost and needed help.
It's amazing how sometimes you can communicate without words, just through gestures and facial expressions.
It really is. He motioned for me to follow him, and he led me through this series of little paths and shortcuts that I never would have found on my own. He even shared some of the fruit he'd just picked from his orchard with me. It was the perfect pick-me-up.
Aw, that's such a heartwarming story. It just goes to show that even when you're in a totally unfamiliar place, people are generally good and willing to help.
Yeah, it definitely restored my faith in humanity that day. It also taught me the importance of learning at least a few basic phrases in the local language. just enough to ask for directions or say thank you.
That's so true. Even a little bit of effort can go a long way. Okay, so we've talked a lot about handling those unexpected mishaps, but let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something that can prevent a lot of headaches in the first place: travel etiquette.
Oh, yes. Travel etiquette, there's a whole unspoken code of conduct that can make or break a trip.
Exactly. And it all starts with being considerate of others, whether it's your fellow passengers on a plane, the staff at your hotel, or even just the people you encounter on the street.
Right, like being mindful of your personal space on public transportation, especially on those crowded buses or trains.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be that person who's invading everyone else's bubble.
Exactly. And speaking of personal space, let's not forget about those armrest hogs on airplanes. You know, the ones who spread out and take up both armrests, leaving you with nowhere to put your elbows.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Or the people who recline their seats all the way back without even checking to see if the person behind them has enough room.
It's like they're oblivious to the fact that their actions are affecting other people. And then there are the noise offenders, the ones who blast their music without headphones or carry on loud conversations, completely disregarding the fact that others are trying to sleep or relax.
It's like they think they have the whole plane to themselves. So I guess airplane etiquette is all about being aware of your surroundings and considering how your actions might impact those around you.
Exactly. And the same goes for hotels. Keeping the noise level down, especially late at night or early in the morning, respecting quiet hours, and being mindful of shared spaces like the pool or the gym.
Yeah, common courtesy goes a long way in making everyone's stay more enjoyable. And speaking of courtesy, don't forget about tipping housekeeping staff. They work incredibly hard to keep our rooms clean and comfortable. And a little tip is a great way to show our appreciation.
Absolutely. It's a small gesture that can make a huge difference in their day. Now, let's move on to dining etiquette. This can be a bit tricky, especially when you're traveling to cultures with different customs than your own.
Right, like in some cultures, it's considered polite to slurp your noodles or eat with your hands, while in others, it might be seen as rude.
Exactly. So doing a little research beforehand can save you from some awkward moments. And if you're ever unsure about something, don't hesitate to ask your server or a local for guidance. Most people are happy to share their cultural insights.
Great tip. Okay, what about photography etiquette? I feel like this is becoming more and more important these days, especially with social media and everyone trying to capture the perfect shot for Instagram.
It's definitely something to be mindful of. Always ask permission before taking someone's picture, especially in culturally sensitive places or when photographing children.
And be aware of your surroundings. You don't want to accidentally block someone's view or photobomb their special moment.
Exactly. And remember, sometimes it's better to just put the camera down and soak in the experience without feeling the need to document everything.
I love that. Sometimes we get so caught up in capturing the moment that we forget to actually live in it.
Speaking of living in the moment, let's talk about something that's really important to me: environmental etiquette. Ah, yes, sustainable travel. It's something we should all be thinking about. We have a responsibility to minimize our impact on the planet while we're exploring it.
Totally. So what are some things we can do to be more eco-conscious travelers?
Well, for starters, pack light. The less you bring, the less fuel the plane or train has to use to transport you and your belongings.
Right, that makes sense. What else?
Use reusable water bottles and shopping bags. Say no to single-use plastics whenever possible, and consider supporting local businesses and tour operators that prioritize sustainability.
I love that. It's about aligning our travel choices with our values.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from handling those unexpected travel mishaps to being respectful and responsible travelers.
We have. And before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. We've talked about the practical aspects of travel, but what about the deeper meaning? How can travel, even with its mishaps and challenges, transform us?
That's such a great question. I think travel has this incredible power to broaden our perspectives, to challenge our assumptions, and to help us see the world in a whole new light. It pushes us outside of our comfort zones and forces us to confront the unknown.
Exactly. And through those experiences, we learn so much about ourselves, about different cultures, and about the interconnectedness of humanity.
So to all of our listeners, embrace those travel mishaps, big or small. They may not feel fun in the moment, but they're often the catalysts for the most unforgettable stories, the deepest connections, and the greatest personal growth.
Travel isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey and all of the messy, unexpected, wonderful moments that come with it.
So true. Safe travels, everyone. May your mishaps be minimal, but your stories be epic.
Safe travel.